Hello, David here with Northwest Outdoor Adventures, and it has been a minute, but I'm here today to talk about the relatively new Timp 4 from Altra. So, longtime viewers of my channel will know that I've been running in Timps since they came out. So I've ran in every single iteration of the shoe. I've voiced my concerns and opinions about every iteration of the shoe. And my quickie review, if you don't want to wait around for the whole video, is that I really like this iteration. So this iteration, the 4s here, they pretty much improved upon everything that I disliked about the 3s, the 2.5s, the 2s, everything in the past. Before this version, me personally, my favorite was probably the original Timps. And I would say, in a lot of ways, these are similar to the pros that the original Timps had, but has addressed some of the issues, not all of them, which we'll get into. So my initial recommendation is if you are a fan of the Timp line, you will more than likely be a fan of these. I personally, big thumbs up. These are my favorite shoes from Altra right now. I'm going to continue to buy these. Okay, so let's jump into some more in-depth parts of this review. So sizing for these shoes is, for me at least, is about the same as the previous iterations. So my normal everyday like road shoe and things like that, normally I wear a size 10.5. For these shoes I sized up to an 11, which is what I've done on every version of the past Timps, and this has felt fine to me. Again, it feels a little bit more locked in general than maybe the Timp 3, let's say, but in general it feels really good to me. So yeah, I think about going a half size up from your normal shoe is probably what I would recommend. Okay, so some cool new things that are available in the shoe this year as opposed to previous years is, of course, they've redone pretty much the entire upper on this shoe. Hopefully that's going to lend itself to more or longer durability. I personally have witnessed that to not be the case so far, but we'll see how it performs in the long run. Of course, it has these nice new drainage holes that are pretty cool. Not sure how well those actually add to the shoes drying and stuff like that, but I'll talk about that later on. And then the actual back of the shoe has a little bit different. The loop you use to put it on your foot is a little bit different there. The tongue itself has a new construction to it. That is also very nice. And yeah, I think those are kind of the main big ones. So let's jump into what I like and dislike about the shoe. All right, so let's just jump into what I dislike about the shoe, since there really isn't too much that I dislike. Really the biggest gripe I have is what's plagued Altra and especially the Timp line for pretty much the entire existence of their shoes, and that is the durability. So as you can see, there's already some wear and tear on these shoes. I have had them for well over 100 miles, but in this day and age, especially when these pair of shoes right now, they cost $140, I believe, if you buy them new. And for that price, you should really be getting more mileage out of these than to see significant wear and tear at 150 miles. So I'm really a little bit disappointed in the wear and tear that I'm seeing here. However, that said, there really isn't a significant impact to the running that I'm doing right now. As you can see, the tearing in the heel on the inside of the shoe is a little bit annoying, but it hasn't really impacted my running too much. What concerns me again is on the outsole. They do or have redesigned the outsole for this year, which is a nice new feature, but it does, as you can see, it already has some fraying on it. So that concerns me a little bit there. Other than that, I like most everything else about the shoe. One other thing that I have noticed, which isn't a big issue if you wear gaiters, but for some reason this shoe collects a lot of debris on the inner part of my ankle and the outer part of my ankle towards the back end of the shoe. I'm not sure if the opening itself is really all that much bigger or what the deal is, but I do seem to have, especially when I'm running in areas that have a lot of pine needles and things like that, or just dust in general, it does collect in the shoe more than I've noticed in past versions. So it's minor, but that is something else that annoys me. So really those are my only two big gripes is, of course, durability, which is a potential deal breaker there. And then, of course, the debris getting inside can be a little bit troublesome. All right, so let's jump ahead to what I like about the shoe. So there's a lot to like this year in this iteration of the shoe. As I mentioned, it's got some new features. One of those that I really do like is the drainage. So it has some new drainage holes in it. Is it a gimmick? I don't really know. But even if it's a placebo effect, it really does feel like these shoes drain and dry a lot faster than most other shoes I run in. So I like that a lot. The fit and feel of these shoes, for me, I really do like. Now, some people have complained these feel a little bit more narrow, and on Altra's website, it does list them in the middle, so like the normal type foot construction. So they have kind of the narrow, the normal, and then the original fit, I think, which is a little bit wider. And these fall in that normal category. So if you do have really wide feet or something like that, that could cause or pose an issue in terms of fit versus, the original generation or something like that. So that's something to look out for in these. Of course, try them on if you can. Another thing I noticed with these is the traction is pretty good. I mean, it's not anything special or anything too different than what I've noticed in the past, but I've always had pretty good success. Again, running in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of, slippery roots and rocks and things like that. I wouldn't say these, necessarily excel, but they don't have an issue running in those conditions either. So again, these are my primary shoes, been running in, since I could run in them. There's been a lot of rain and stuff in the spring here so far. So I've had some good chance to deal with some of the slippery conditions here, and these have held up quite well. So I'm pleased with that. Another thing I really like about the shoes is the whole upper that they've redone is super comfortable. So especially when compared to some other shoes like the Mont Blanc, which I've also ran in a little bit. As you can see, the uppers on these are quite different. The Mont Blanc has a very, very thin upper, and it actually kind of digs into your foot depending on how you have to lace it up. Whereas the Timp is very comfortable, so the tongue itself has a nice bit of cushion to it. It feels really nice when the shoe goes on your foot. Again, subjective, and that's my personal opinion, but I really like how the new upper feels, just in terms of the fit and feel of it. I really like that. Other than that, the shoe feels, similar to Timps in the past. It's relatively light while maintaining a really nice stack height, so it does have a good bit of cushion there that personally I feel like does last a reasonable amount of time. So I still feel like it has good pop, good cushion. Of course, this isn't like a race shoe per se in terms of speed or anything like that. And it does have, pretty high stack height, so they aren't necessarily the most snappy shoe, but to me they feel really comfortable, great for longer outings. It's just a really good shoe in between, say, the Lone Peak and the Olympus. So I like this shoe more than any other shoe in the Altra line, like I've already stated. Really don't like the colorways. Those are pretty lame. I didn't mention that in the cons because it's kind of a minor thing, but personally I think the colorways that are available for this shoe are awful. They are very ugly. That's up to you if you think that, but again, I think the green was probably the best of those choices, but again, not super happy with the colorways they chose. So hopefully they'll come out with some more in the future that look a little bit better.